Welcome to the Awareness Angle, simplifying cybersecurity awareness. This is the podcast that brings you the latest cybersecurity news from the past week and gives you the security awareness angle on it. All views and opinions expressed in this podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our employers. If you're watching us on YouTube, please leave us a like, a comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell to get notified every Monday when a new episode drops. If you're on a podcast platform, then follow the show and get notified every time we release a new show. And this week, lots and lots of stories to get through. But of course, can't do it without my partner in crime, Luke. How you doing, Mr. Pettigrew?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. How was your week? Was it a good week?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's been busy, but it's always good, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be busy. Gets it going faster.
Yeah, I've had the week off this week, so it's been quite nice. Went up London yesterday with my daughter for a walk around here and there. Did like 25,000 steps, which is out of the ordinary for me. My largely sedentary lifestyle. So no, it was really good. Just went around. So yeah. But anyway, lots to get through this week. Lots of stories, little stories, and some really interesting ones, actually. So first off, and this one's only a quick one. WinZip vulnerability opens a door to remote code execution. Now, why I shared this was first of all, I thought this was like one of many, many WinZip vulnerabilities that there's been over the past 12 months. And then I had a look at the CVE database and realised I was actually wrong. There hasn't been lots of WinZip vulnerabilities, but there was a 7-zip vulnerability already this year. We're only 2 months in. So you've had a 7-zip and you've had a WinZip. And it just kind of got me thinking, how many people in your organisation that have WinZip installed actually need to have WinZip installed? Because the functionality is native in all OS really now.
Yeah. Especially, I can't imagine they're all up to date either.
No, it's probably one of those programs that only updates when you open it as well. Like it's only when you open it that it checks for updates.
Yeah,
and then you probably press no.
Yeah, and then you just don't do it.
WinRAR, anyone? Who's still running the 14-day WinRAR trial? I wonder.
Yeah, it's like a running joke, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like one person in the world that's bought it or something.
So, if you think you might have users running WinZip in your organization, there's a remote code execution vulnerability. Tell them to update. And that's first story done, which is record time. The next story I had, and I quite liked this. This was, obviously Donald Trump became president, a few weeks ago. And one of the things that he did was he said he would declassify all the files on the killings of JFK, RFK, and Martin Luther King. John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King. JFK, RFK, and MLK. What a coincidence. So because there's lots of interest in this for a long time, the murder of JFK was always, was it the FBI? Was it someone else? So apparently, cybercriminals are reportedly exploiting public fascination with these documents to conduct malicious activities, malware, phishing schemes. So they've registered a whole bunch of domains that are really, really similar to the actual domain that was released. So get this up here. So we have the actual official domain that was released was the JFK files, I believe.
Right.
But they've registered phrases like the JFK files without the T, JFK files.com, RFK files.com, JFK-files.org. So, like we see with any organization, variations on a theme, and they're trying to do these fake websites, browser vulnerabilities, phishing campaigns. So again, really, really important that we check the destination, we check the whereabouts, and we check where things go because they might look legit, but they're most likely not legit.
Yeah.
And it's, again, any big news story. People will just jump on it, try and weaponize it and take advantage of our curious nature. We see it again and again.
It happens all the time. It's interesting that they chose to use such a domain in the first place. It's sort of, it already sounds as dodgy as it was. So you think they would have put it on an official government website, but because
maybe they have. Let me just see if that does actually work, because maybe I've jumped to a conclusion there which I shouldn't have.
Make sure you don't land on a fake website.
Well, this looks pretty legit. So if I go to the jfkfiles.com, it's quite a nice basic screen. It's quite a nice basic site. Breaking down the key details. Breaking Trump signs order to release JFK files. So we've got the full timeline there of everything. So 2025, I mean, it's a simple WordPress 2025 theme, but that's not
screaming fake. But
well, yeah, it's not an official site, but that's not got anything really dodgy on it, and the other domains aren't working. So, yeah, just anything, stick to the original sites. If you Google it, it points you to whitehouse.gov and stuff like that. So, like, go to the official sources. Don't follow any dodgy links that go anywhere.
Yeah.
Last week, we didn't mention DeepSeek once. Like, it was for 2 weeks previous, it had been DeepSeek. And you're thinking, oh, DeepSeek's, fallen out of favour. Well, I've just mentioned DeepSeek several times. And
made up for it.
Yeah. So this is from Korea Jungang Daily. Excuse my poor pronunciation, but new downloads of the DeepSeek app have been suspended in Korea after a government investigation found that its AI model had sent personal data to China's ByteDance.
Yeah, I did hear about this one.
And who are ByteDance?
TikTok.
Who do ByteDance own?
TikTok. And much more.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
CapCut, isn't it, as well?
CapCut, TikTok. Yeah. So I'm shocked, I have to say. But yeah, the report says we found that DeepSeek's user data was leaked to ByteDance. When users accessed DeepSeek, their information was being passed on to ByteDance as well. DeepSeek enacted the suspension voluntarily upon the regulator's request, admitting it neglected to adhere to domestic data protection laws during the launch of its global service.
Yeah.
So for everyone concerned about TikTok having their data and started using DeepSeek, I don't know how well the two are connected. I like ByteDance doesn't own DeepSeek, but clearly there's a transference of data there, which is worth being aware of. Again, you've just got to be careful who you share your data with. And shiny new toys is a concern, surely, for everyone.
Yeah,
that's the problem. I had a Hox hunt on LinkedIn just the other day. Posted the true cost of phishing, and there's some great stats in here regarding phishing campaigns. There's a full report as well, which I'll pull up in a minute. If you're watching on YouTube, you get to see the screenshot in all its glory. If you're not, let me talk you through it. So, true cost of phishing in 2025, a wake-up call. Data from IBM and the Ponemon Institute shows the biggest jump in phishing costs since the pandemic. The average cost of a phishing breach is now $4.88 million.
Wow.
That's a 10% increase from 2023. People targeted attacks, phishing breaches, 4.8 million. Social engineering, 4.7 million. Business email compromise, 4.6 million. But they say this is their spin on it. Here's the game changer: time and training. Organisations that contained breaches within 200 days saved $1.2 million compared to slower responses. The study identified that employee training was the single biggest factor in either amplifying or reducing breach costs. And this says the message is clear: investing in your people's security awareness isn't just about prevention, it's about protecting your bottom line. And I think that's a great line. It's not, security awareness isn't just about prevention, it's about protecting the profits. So I think, and I've said this already, I think we're going to see this massive shift from people investing loads and loads in EDR and stuff like that, which is still important, still has its place. But I think organisations are going to realise now that people is more important. So hopefully we'll see more awareness roles and bigger awareness teams, and that would be good.
Yeah.
I think.
Got to be honest, those numbers sound bigger than I thought they'd be. And 200 days sounds like a long time, but I would have thought most breaches would be contained quicker than that, but maybe it's, I don't quite know what they mean by contained. I guess the full report probably covers a bit more.
So in 2022, IBM's 2022 data security report, it was reported that it took an average of 277 days for businesses to identify and report a data breach.
Right.
Stolen or compromised credentials were the most common cause of data breach in 2022, and these type of attacks took 327 days to identify. So that's not even contain. That's just to identify. So, yeah, 9 months. And I've heard that before. I knew it was around that figure, that 9 months is the kind of time before you know you're actually been invaded. Like, they're on your network for 9 months. And it's like, what have they done in all this time? And we've seen before, the people that actually get access to your network might not be the ones that actually do the harm. They might sell that access.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some great image from, great graphics from Hoxhunt here. So this is their phishing trends report. Rise in phishing since 2021. You can see a 49% rise in phishing. 65% of attacks target organisations. 35% target individuals. 90% malicious attachments lead to further social engineering. 85% fewer malicious clicks with Hoxhunt. This is not a sponsored section, so reported fish written by AI. So this is 0.7 to 4.7% reported a fish written by AI. That figure we're going to see increase.
Yeah,
I would have thought. And then here, top 3 most spoofed entities: Microsoft, DocuSign, and human resources. Now, here's an interesting one, right? If your organisation uses, will anyone in your organisation ever get an email from Microsoft?
it depends, right?
It depends. It's something to look at. Like if you're a Google house, you might never get an email from Microsoft. So maybe there's something you could do on it. Maybe there's something you could do to flag emails specifically from Microsoft to say, either you can confirm it's come from a genuine domain, flag it, say, this is definitely, put a big banner at the top. And you can do this with some of the mail controls and routing controls. This email is confirmed to be from Microsoft.com. And if that banner's not there, don't trust it.
Yeah.
DocuSign, if you don't use DocuSign, don't tell people or don't allow them in. And human resources, that's obviously a big one. There's so much in this report. We'll put a link to this in the newsletter and in the show notes. The newsletter is obviously, we send it out every Monday to go along with the show, contains links to everything we discuss. And if you want to get the newsletter, you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can subscribe at riskycreative.com. And links to everything we talk about in the show will be in the newsletter that comes out every Monday with links to the show and the stories. So this phishing attacks, I think, is really interesting. You've got BEC, 64% of business report facing BEC attacks in 2024. And even that, financial loss for BEC is $150,000 per incident. 80% of phishing campaigns aim to steal credentials. It's all here. Really, really good numbers. And you don't have to enter your details to get it either, which is quite nice. So this is all available to you without selling your soul. AI being used to amplify phishing attacks, which is this is what we say is going to increase. It's going to really go up over the next 12 months, I think. So yeah, we'll put a link to that, and we can talk about that a lot more when we've analysed that.
Cool.
Let's talk about this. I saw this on Reddit. And I thought this wasn't aimed at awareness professionals, but I thought this was useful. This was aimed at, I think it's on the cybersecurity subreddit. And I thought this was quite an interesting one. What sneaky techniques have you noticed when interacting with phishing pages? So here we've got, I'm coming across a lot of phishing campaigns that are pretty convincing. Many of them have a login form or ask for your credit card. I'm curious about what kind of techniques these pages have going on behind the scenes. Has anyone noticed any interesting web requests or DOM changes that happen with user interactions? Any sneaky attacks? So the top, I'll read on the top ones. These are sorted by best. So hidden form fields. It's an interesting one. They have innocuous visible form fields, name, gender, that support autofill. And when you click it, it also populates invisible forms with sensitive data, address, credit card. It's like, wow, that's that's a clever one.
I think a lot of times you'll just do the easy way of the autofill, and often it just fills in all sorts.
And you don't think it's a concern because you only literally see, like, the example, name and gender. And you're like, oh, yeah, autofill. And what you don't see is that it's spewing in all your credit card details as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. That and tokenized single-use phishing links to slow forensics. Forgot to add, high-quality targeted phishing is massively increasing in possibility with ease of using AI. Yeah. Redirect to valid service after a fake error, grabbing the credentials. Seen that before. We saw that actually when the episode we did a few weeks ago with the Sydney Zoo. I think that ended up bouncing out to a legit service, or some of the links went out to the legit service. I think we've seen that before. Using pages on the actual Microsoft domain is pretty sneaky, especially when the link is sent over a Teams message instead of email. Why would it come through on Teams? Oh, if they work in an MSSP. Okay. We've seen that with Google. We saw that with the Google Ads one. They built it within Google's own ecosystem on a Google site, and it was approved. So there's no blocking on it. QR codes to bypass content detection. Know before, scan for that in their PhishER tool. And I don't know about other vendors, but Know Before's SOAR tool, PhishER, can scan QR codes and check their destination and then do their usual magic with them. So if you are concerned about QR codes coming in and you haven't got a tool to look at them at the moment, Know Before does do that. So then PhishER tool could be something to look at. I'll share a link to this post, and there's lots of great things in here. Google Forms ask for usernames and passwords. We've seen that. Browser in the browser is interesting. This went around a lot with Steam phishing pages, where I'd have a fake window pop up that looked like the real Steam login pop up. The kicker was that it had a fake address bar populated with the real Steam login domain. I remember something like that. We saw something like that in the wild a few months ago, like a login page within a login page. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of good stuff in here, and this is all stuff to like tell your people about. These are all techniques that you can tell stories about and start using, because these are ones that happen. They're not unusual, they're not rare. So
yeah, there's definitely some sophisticated phishing scams out there.
I mean, there's a lot of sophisticated scams out there. To detect them, a lot of the time is the same things to look out for, though, isn't it? Like, check the address. If it doesn't look right, if it doesn't feel right, how did you get here?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of whole experience thing is still quite relevant. There's a unique set of skills that someone could learn to protect themselves well. Not always, but well. We've spoken about video games before, and there's another video game security concern that I saw this week. And again, like, you have to form unusual behavior to fall for it. But Gary's Mod, which is a big Steam game, big online multiplayer game. My son loves playing Gary's Mod, has done for years. Watch videos on YouTube of people playing it. BeamNG Drive, which was a mod for that, was reportedly used as the hack for Disney June last year. And Dyson Sphere program, which I'm not familiar with. But these are all top-rated games, hundreds of thousands of overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. And according to Kaspersky, the Starry Dobry campaign started in December and ended in January, targeted users in Germany, Russia, Brazil, Belarus, and Kazakhstan. And the threat actors uploaded infected game installers onto torrent sites in September 2024, months in advance, and then triggered the payloads within the games during the holiday season, so over Christmas, making detection less likely. So they used a multi-stage infection. If you're into your technical stuff, it's probably quite an interesting write-up on this. But during the game's installation, the malware dropper is unpacked, launched in the background, checks if it's running on a virtual machine, sandbox, or debugger. And if it isn't, then it will crack on. So it's highly evasive behavior. If it detects any security tools, it terminates immediately. So it's clever stuff. Yeah, so it's, again, if you downloaded your tooling from a trusted source, this wouldn't happen. If you, like, Gary's Mod is like $7.99 on Steam, I think. Like, it's not a lot of money. I know it's not free, but how much is it? Gary's Mod on Steam is $9.99. So, yes, hours of fun to be had in that game. But if you want to download it for free, it's $6.99 in the UK, or download the torrent and get infected with malware. Like, sometimes I get it if the game was £80. Like, a lot of games now will cost you like 60, 70, 80 quid.
Depends. Like, I mean, it says there about certain countries on that list are probably their cost of living is probably very different, and as well as younger audience. But then again, well, I guess a younger person's computer is probably not what someone would want to get access to, but then it obviously could infect their family, and someone in the family could be using their work machine and all sorts. So I'm sure there's knock-on effects, and there's always going to be one person in a business that downloads a torrent which is infected. So
yeah, I've seen it before, not for a long time, but seen it before. It's
that's an easy one to just block, right? For the most part.
So there used to be, I knew of a genuine business reason that torrents existed. Like, torrents were used legitimately 10, 12 years ago. So not for a long time. And then it was like, why are you torrenting? We're like, oh yeah, it's genuine, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, okay. That's, yeah, but that was soon engineered out. I think though, if you're going to download illegal software and you're going to torrent stuff, you know, if you're going to sail the seven seas, beware of pirates. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like when is it Firefox, when you go into the settings menu, it's like here be dragons or something like that. You know, it's,
yeah, there's a few different things. I think,
yeah. If you're going to start downloading stuff, just be prepared to lose everything, I think is the way to think about it. Yeah. Do you want to talk about your story? Because I've got a story, but it kind of is the opposite of your story.
Right. Yeah, we can quickly go through it. So there's a North Korean job interview scam / malware sort of campaign, which has been dubbed as Contagious Interview. I think it only affects Mac OS from what I was reading. It doesn't say that in the news story, but the way it works seems to be a Mac OS sort of Apple development kit type thing, where it seems to be a Mac thing. But so yeah, it's a campaign that North Korean threat actors are basically having fake job interviews, and as a result of that, they're deploying some malicious applications to, I guess, the people on the call through probably a dodgy link or something, and it's basically presents them a security prompt which seems to be disguised as Google Chrome in this example. So it'll say like your Google Chrome is updating, and then you click on the button, and that's it. You've been deployed with some malware. It says here about a fake NS alert, which seems to be a macOS user interface thing for Apple AppKit or something like that. So it's like a native window will pop up that looks like a macOS window. So I guess they're disguising it to look like a real prompt, but in fact it's not. So yeah,
if this is the same one, I've just found Flexible Ferret.
So it talks about that's a similar thing, and there's a Chrome update one.
Right. So yeah, this says it's a macOS malware family.
Yeah, similar sort of things.
Long gone are the days of, I run macOS. You don't need antivirus on a Mac. It's like that's not the case anymore.
So yeah, it's in this example, it mimics the Google Chrome pop-up to say you only. In this case, it's talking about accessing webcam. I guess that's sort of the theme of the whole. It's done on a job interview video call thing.
Yeah.
So, you basically click that, pops up with the window, and you ask for your credentials to perform the update. And I guess that's when you're handing over your credentials as part of this malware. Seems to be quite detailed in this. We'll obviously put that link in there in the news there and stuff, but it's definitely not one I've seen before.
So that's people interviewing for a job.
Yeah, it seems to be, at least in this story. So
yeah,
so it's fake job interview processes. Maybe it's the other way around actually. Have to look a bit more. Doesn't really say.
Well, you see,
I saw it both ways, but
I saw a news story that's the opposite of that this week. It's different infection type, so it's not the same, but it's phishing email campaign detected by Cloudflare, which issued a report on this, and basically it's that they might be losing their job. So it's threatening term, so it's using fear, uncertainty and doubt, and again is using that to phish people by thinking that they're going to lose their job. The targets receive an email from employment court that bore a copy of the tribunal's logo. So a high volume campaign was aimed at people in the UK who are subject to the country's Employment Tribunal Service. Wow. The subject line would read, "Action required, tribunal proceedings against you." And the message started with, "Immediate action required." And a case number and the so-called case topic was termination notice.
Well,
While the message was supposedly from employment court, the actual sender was postmaster at agra.wog.gr.
there's always
The Employment
something
Tribunal
obvious.
Service does not send emails from Greece. I think .gr is Greek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's. I mean, that's a great one. Like, so there you've got recruitment, people really keen, eager to get a job. You're on an interview, your camera doesn't work. You know, there's like, oh, what like, you know, so that's one thing that's going to be like really triggering. And then at the other end of the plan, you've got people who think they're getting fired.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, it's always, I guess it often stems from unsolicited sort of emails, really. You might get reached out to saying they've got a job for you, are you interested? And then they might be targeting you because you work at a specific business already or something. And same for the other way around, really.
It's
always
similar.
emotions, isn't it?
This one's similar to the Nick Robinson one we spoke about last week. So it's important. So this, for example, it says here, fishes often try to prompt a sense of dread and a feeling of, oh my goodness, I've got to do something, which is exactly what Nick Robinson described with his ex account violating terms of service last week. You know, and he got phished. And it's interesting. This. So who is this person that I'm just reading about? I don't know. Someone's quoting. I want to. David Shipley of Beauceron Security. So they're a Canadian-based security awareness provider. This is an article in CSO Online, and he's got some good advice. So David Shipley says, awareness training should teach employees to recognise these emotions. That's the moment they should be taught to slow down, step away from their computer and think before clicking. Teaching people emotional intelligence and mindfulness can reduce susceptibility by as much as 50%. He's kind of got that bang on, mindfulness in phishing. It's also important that organisations encourage staff to report a suspicious, unusual email to a superior or IT or through your normal phishing reporting. And to give a pat on the back or more to those that do. This shows other employees that reporting will be rewarded. David's got that bang on. Well done, David Shipley, whoever you are. Yes. So it's emotions. People need to have some emotional intelligence when it comes to phishing and just take a breath.
It always seems to come around to that. It's either that or your typical, like, look at the sender's address and the domain, really, make sure it's legit.
Yeah.
Do some research before you act on it. But, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to read more about that, we'll put the details and the article and David's great advice in the newsletter and the show notes. So yes, be careful when going for a job. And if you get an email saying you've been fired or you've been taken to an employment tribunal, double check. Don't panic. Right, awareness. Last week we finished Brian's collection of questions. Thank you, Brian, for your collection of questions. If there's questions you'd like to ask us or stuff you'd like us to discuss from a security awareness perspective, do reach out to us. hello@riskycreative.com and we can talk about them on an episode and go through them. That's all cool. There was a post a couple of weeks ago on the SANS Security Awareness Forum. So if you're a security awareness professional specifically, SANS have a forum for those that work and cover security awareness in organisations. If you're not on it, get in touch with us and we can try and resolve that. We can tell you where to go to get on it. But there was a comment on there a couple of weeks ago saying that at an organisation, I won't name names outright publicly, but it says senior leadership wants us to present a case for why we shouldn't be firing people for failing simulated phishing.
Nicely with the whole phishing stories we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's like a phishing special. It's interesting. I knew an organisation that did dismiss people for phishing a long time ago. I don't know if they still do. I didn't work there, but I knew the person that did security awareness for them, and she was not comfortable with it, and I don't blame her. What's your take on, supposing you were told that people were going to get fired for failing a simulated fish? Or maybe there's two conversations here: real fish, simulated fish.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't think simulations is very fair, considering it's a sort of training tool and a learning sort of piece. It's not really designed to catch people out.
Don't upset the fisher. Don't upset the guy that runs the fishing platform.
Yeah,
because he or she could really make your life difficult. You know, wouldn't it? We used to get people joking like, "Oh, you've got to try harder if you want to catch me," blah blah blah, and it always used to be like, "You're probably not the person that we're trying to educate. Like, you're probably knowledgeable enough, but then
it's probably get caught out by a real one." But
yeah. But then it was always like, if I wanted to catch everyone in the business with phishing, I could. Like, you could easily craft something that was tailored and focused and looked genuine and probably catch 99% of your employees out.
Definitely.
So,
definitely not a pleasant culture to be around. But I guess in some cases, maybe it's potentially justified depending on the business and stuff, but
if an old lady, if an old lady, gentleman, younger man, if I get my mobile phone stolen on the street, right? If I'm in London and I'm on my phone and it gets swiped out of my hand, am I going to get arrested because I should have done better? I shouldn't have been waving my phone around in public. It's slightly different, but is it not the same?
Yeah, it's definitely.
Like, it's the whole. If someone falls for a phishing simulation, are they not a victim?
Well, yeah, it's very pointed finger and blaming them, which I don't think's very fair.
I wouldn't want to work at an organisation. I'll throw that out there now. If my organisation was firing people for failing for phishing emails, that's not the kind of organisation I'd want to work at.
No. Even being on the receiving end or being the people that run the phishing, definitely.
Yeah.
Imagine that's a very hard place to work on both ends, really. But especially with being in the security awareness and infosec team trying to change people's behaviours when you've got that. It's probably not easy. So I think someone maybe mentioned it in that thread about, like, a CEO, for example, could fail the phishing. Not that they probably interact with them, but like, they're not going to get fired, are they?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine like someone like, oh, the CEO is going to step down because he's fallen for a fish. It's just not going to. It's just not going to happen. I think it would depend on the type of business you're in. It would probably depend on where you were geographically. I've just seen someone's linked to Brian Krebs has done an article on this 6 years ago. Should failing fish tests be a fireable offence? And there's like 156 comments on that. So
There's an interesting one there on that. So why isn't the security team fired that let the phishing email get to the employee who clicked on it?
Well, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Like, have you done, as a security function, have you got all the tools and done everything you possibly could to prevent that fish landing in an inbox? We spoke about something earlier, like a Microsoft one. If it's not from Microsoft.com and it doesn't meet the standard templates, if it hasn't arrived through the normal source, why are you letting it land in an inbox?
Yeah.
Like, surely there's ways, there's patterns, there's tooling. Previously, during my engineering days, we saw phishing campaigns that were similar in style and trend, and it got to a point where we were using regexes to identify the color of the button used in HTML, and it was like, we'll quarantine them and check them before landing. It's like and then it was almost like a game. We knew they were coming from universities, so university domains containing this color block it. There's got to be ways. Just letting them land and expecting the user to identify or not identify isn't okay.
You definitely have, like you said, you want to make sure all of your controls and your training is top notch if you're going to start firing people for it.
Yeah. And like detectives, I'm really going on a tangent now, but detectives will investigate a crime and they'll look at all the forensics and follow the evidence, blah, 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 blah. There's a whole pattern. They don't just go, someone got stabbed, didn't see anyone with a knife. You've got to have, I would expect a security team to do everything in their power to stop it from coming in if there was something. And like, I don't know a security team that's done the stuff that I'm saying. I'm only just thinking of it, but maybe this is something that should happen.
Yeah, it depends as well, even like what email provider you use. So like we've said before, like Gmail's really good at detecting it, but if you've got Microsoft or an Outlook, you're probably screwed.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, if you're in a external facing role, so if you're in a sales role or you're in a public facing role, your identity is going to be out there more. So you're going to receive more emails than someone that only deals with finance internally in the business. And then you've got other questions like, does everybody in your business need external email? Or could they just have internal email? Like, can they go, oh, you're only allowed to receive email from our domain and this approved list of senders, and anything else will just not come through because you don't need external email. I bet you many businesses don't do that. I'll tell you when they would do that. If email started being charged. So if like per email cost X amount of money, like this is the problem with email. Email as a technology is so old, dated, and like if email was was more of a consumable product, someone develops email 2.0 that like levels up, then maybe, and starts marketing that, then maybe. But email as itself, like it's just vulnerable to abuse.
Yeah. Something I just thought of is like, I don't know if it must be across different providers, but like in Gmail, for example, you get that blue check mark that where a business has verified that that's been sent by them, and it sort of validates that it's legit. But a lot of businesses don't use that feature, but I feel like it should be mandatory. If you have a business with a business email, these things should be mandatory. Like the whole, I think it's called BIMI, brand indicators for message identification.
Yeah.
It's an open standard.
Which probably half of the people that do it don't don't apply to. Half of the email vendors like, oh, we don't need to deal with that. I forget the name. There's an organisation, a collective of companies that basically bring together, that manage email, like the posture and the way it goes. I can't remember what they're called. Someone listening will probably comment and say what it is. Who governs email? technology. I can't remember who it is. I don't even know how to Google this. And I can't find it. No, there's a company, there's a group of companies that are all part of an association that basically talk about the way email is used in business, and Gmail are at the table, Microsoft are at the table, and like Mimecast are at the table, I think. And it almost feels like someone like that, like it needs to be matured more. It's such an immature product. If human safety was involved, which it is kind of, but more so, like, yeah.
Because it's been around for so long, right? And they're just slowly updating it as best they can.
And it's kind of open. Like anyone can spin up an email server, attach a domain to it, and start sending email. You know, it's like
you got the whole DMARC and DKIM and all that. So validate your stuff against. But
all of that's not easy. Like out of the box, like configuring that and getting compliant with that's not a walk in the park. So, should employees be fired for failing phishing simulations?
No.
No. No. And if my organisation tried to do it, I'd be off. Yeah. So, yeah, no. They should support, train, educate, and encourage. You don't jail an old lady when she gets mugged, or an old man when he gets mugged. You help them and put an arm around them and nurture them and tell them not to go down that dark alley at that time of night, or not to get their wallet out. You educate. Okay.
Cool.
Lovely. Right. Comment section. We had a comment. I shared a short this week on our discussion last week from the UK government wanting an Apple backdoor. And the children of the Rev Zero commented and said, all this will do is penalise law-abiding people. The criminals will just move to another service for their encryption, while everyone else will have to deal with the bad guys finding and exploiting the backdoor. He's got a point. Like, if the people will just move to Signal or move to Telegram or some other encrypted messaging service, you're just going to move them along. And not all of them will give you a backdoor. If Apple did, which they haven't, but if they did, then someone else commented and said it was a really old news story. And it's like, it's a recurring news story because it keeps bubbling to the top.
Different countries and governments.
Yeah. It's not a new topic. Governments have wanted a backdoor in encryption for years, years and years. I mean, I suppose go back to World War II with the Enigma machine. Germany would have loved a backdoor into Enigma or something, it's like, Right. You had a topic or two to discuss this week.
Yeah. So something I saw on my phone was the first one, which is a Google Pixel phone, and security update popped up, which told me that the security update was needed. My system's 14 days out of date. But I thought, whilst it was quite sort of a good sort of pop-up to tell me that, but it seems quite vague with sort of why I should be doing that, I guess, which just sort of made me think about the whole thing we've sort of discussed before around having a clear and sort of transparent communication with your messaging, really. Do I actually need to do that update right now? Is there a concern? Is there an urgent vulnerability that's being exploited? Those sorts of things I thought would be quite nice for it to sort of tell me. But it's probably not a new feature either, to be honest, but it's the first time I saw it, to be honest, in terms of a security update. Usually it's just an OS update, and the security stuff sort of just gets done as and when I sort of do it. But
I've got a couple of queries with that. So the first time you saw this was when it was 14 days out of date. So the first time you saw it, it told you.
There's probably. To be honest, my phone gets so many updates as well. That's the other thing. It's like I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure, but obviously 14 days is that. It's like a clear time when it's told me to do that. And maybe it did it at 7 days as well. I'm not sure, but
It's interesting because I know Apple, for example, when you look at a system update on Apple, on an iterative update, it tells you that it contains bug fixes and security improvements, and then offers you a link to go to find out more. And I bet you no one clicks on that link. But it's interesting that it just describes it as, again, you're completely right. Tell people why they should update. Like, sell the update to them.
Yeah, I'm sure if it told you you're vulnerable to this, to an exploit or something, or even just in general, your device is vulnerable. Doesn't even mention that. It's like quite a basic thing that you think would be standard for a security update, but
absolutely. But then, was an awareness team involved in that conversation? was an awareness team involved in making that aware? I know that's something,
but that's just put that bit of text in there.
Yeah, I know we've spoken. I know, like, Google's. I don't know about the Android space, but I know Google has different teams that work on each of its products. I had a problem with Google with a camera, and they told me to refer it to the Meet team, but it was actually a Chrome problem. And it was like, it's like, at what point do these teams interject? So is the security team that's pushing out security notifications actually worked with the UX team and the team that like making it all work smoothly and fluffy? Who had eyes over that message? And that's a really, awareness teams should have eyes over that, because they're the ones that would go, okay, if you want people to update, here's the wording you should be using. Here's the phrasing that would encourage them to update. Because just saying security update needed, your system is 14 days out of date. So
even the learn more button didn't specify what the update was. I think we're pretty sure it's just a generic help page as well. So it's
right.
Yeah, definitely wasn't the best message.
I bet you like 1% of people click learn more, or even less than that. And then of those people that click learn more, the majority of those may be like proper Android fans, like, oh, what is it patching? Let me know, or at least give them easy access to find out what it's doing. Why hide it?
Yeah, I think I just realised the buttons, there's only two options. So I guess at that point it was kind of, you have to update, because it gave the option of doing it after 2 o'clock in the morning or restart now. So I just hit 2 o'clock in the morning, do it whilst I'm got it on charge or something is most convenient time.
You see, iPhone, I think, just does it at night anyway. I don't think it necessarily prompts.
Having a look to see if there's, I would have thought that was just an automatic thing, especially for a security update.
I mean, maybe if you did you have to interact with that, or did it appear in the slide down section?
Well, funnily enough, I still have that update to do. So it clearly didn't do it.
It didn't do it at 2 in the morning.
Because I'm pretty sure I pushed that button, but maybe I didn't. I'll click it now.
I wonder why that hasn't happened. So interestingly, remember this, and next week let us know if it's happened or not, because it could be that, I mean, I've seen before where it hasn't had enough drive space or stuff like that. It could be
have been battery and stuff like. Yeah, well, I've hit the button now, so we'll see.
Cool.
Updates.
If you want to find out if Luke's phone updates at 2 o'clock in the morning, join us next week for part 2 of Will It Update?
So exciting.
Did you have another one for us?
Yeah, just an interesting video I saw. I think we've possibly touched on these guys before, maybe not.
Is this Corridor Crew?
It's Corridor Crew. We obviously both know of them, but maybe we didn't talk about them before on here.
I don't think we have spoken about them on here. We know of them because in our awareness campaigns, we've done a lot of visual effects, and we've done a lot of, Luke's great at, so basically it used to be, Luke, go and make that happen. And then Luke would go and make it happen. And
we'd see something cool on their videos basically and try and recreate it.
Yeah. Whether it was 3D animation or special effects or visual effects, and the Corridor Crew are a bunch of VFX artists that basically have gone big on YouTube for analysing the way things are done. today or yesteryear. A great one they did was Terminator 2, the T-1000, where the, a metal Terminator walks through the jail bars, and they tried recreating it, and actually the original was better. I think I don't like it, because I think it. To be fair, that sort of that movie was probably quite good for its time as well in terms of that. Amazing. But this it's a video about VFX artists breaking down the latest AI scams, which is quite a fun one to share, I think. It's really relevant.
We can probably play a few seconds of it, but it talks about how to spot deepfakes and the whole developments there around the improvements of sort of how they've sort of have gotten quite good now with the mouth movements and the voice, and it also touched on the Brad Pitt story, which I think that the Brad Pitt stuff's always been around, but I think it was the same one we spoke about a few episodes ago.
France.
Yeah, the lady got scammed a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, a huge amount of money. And they cover the screenshots and some stuff around that.
Excellent.
So yeah,
there was another one this week. Deepfake, was it Scarlett Johansson? This week warns of AI dangers after a deepfake incident. So this was on the BBC News website. She's warned about the misuse of AI after a deepfake video purported to show her and other Jewish celebrities sending a message of protest to Kanye West. So in the fake video, Johansson and other stars included David Schwimmer and Jerry Seinfeld were depicted wearing a white T-shirt showing the Star of David, and giving a one-finger salute above the word Kanye. So, yes, it's interesting. It's Let's not, this isn't an AI show. Perry Carpenter from Know Before's got an AI podcast if you're interested in AI, but listen to ours for cybersecurity news. But yeah, it's the Corridor Crew are really good. Actually, there's more things you could learn from the Corridor Crew. They're really good at taking a really technical, specific topic and making it engaging. And the videos look great. They're fast paced. They're easy to consume if you're not technical. And it's exactly like security awareness professionals could probably learn a bit from the Corridor Crew on how to communicate using video. I hadn't really thought about that before.
That's a good one.
Yeah, some of the videos we used to make when we worked together would be comparable to the way that they present and talk about it and dissect stuff. So it's probably, look at that, watch it for the story it tells, and then go back and watch it for the way it tells the story.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'd be an interesting one to look at.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
That was it.
Well, I think we're just about done then. That's a jam-packed episode of the Awareness Angle. If you're still here, click follow, click like, click subscribe, hit the bell, go to riskycreative.com and sign up for the newsletter to get links to all of the stories and more. And yeah, I think actually one more thing today. Let me just check because I got a notification, but I haven't actually been on LinkedIn, which I should have done because I think, yes. So if you have security champions or are interested in security champions or want to know what a security champion is, then the recording from my session with Layer 8 and Sarah Janes is now available. The 6 critical success factors for a great security champions program is now available for you to share and watch. So we'll put a link to that in the show notes, and we'll put that in the newsletter as well and find it on LinkedIn. So yeah, if you're interested in finding out more about security champions, me and Sarah Janes from Layer 8 talked about it for an hour and broke it all down. So, yeah,
Cool.
I think
Yeah,
that's it.
definitely one to watch. Both very knowledgeable people on the topic. So,
Oh, I don't know about me, but Sarah knows what she's talking about.
yeah, she's very good.
Yes, it was like opened eyes for not just us, but for the security team. We invited them along. Sarah wove a spell, is that right? She cast her spell over everyone, and it really changed the business's attitude towards its security champions. And budgets are tight, right? You know, a lot of companies are trying to watch where they're spending the money. You don't need lots of money to run a champions network. You just need some time and some resource. So it could be good. Yeah. So check that out. Link in the show notes and on the LinkedIn. Yeah. Brilliant. Luke,
Awesome.
Thank you for a great show.
Thank you.
And I will speak to you same time next week.
Yeah, cool. See you in the next one.
Cool. Yep. Bye, everyone.
Bye.